Imagine setting up a Formula One car to be as unstable as possible. Rear end sliding, front end twitchy. The kind of setup that would have most drivers begging their engineer to fix it. Now imagine driving that car faster than anyone else on the grid. That's Max Verstappen. And the brutal truth. His style is so aggressive, so precise, and so unforgiving that it's destroyed the careers of multiple teammates who tried to keep up. Today, we're breaking down exactly what makes his technique impossible to copy and why even elite drivers look average in the same machinery. This didn't start in Formula One. Max's driving DNA was coded long before he ever touched an F1 steering wheel. Born into racing royalty, his father Jos competed at the highest level, and his mother Sophie was a karting champion. So while most 4-year-olds were learning to ride bikes, Max was learning racing lines. But here's what separated him from every other karting prodigy. It wasn't just speed, it was instinct. Raw, unfiltered, borderline reckless instinct. In karting, he was infamous for dive bombs that shouldn't have worked. In Formula 3, for overtakes on the outside that defied logic. And by the time he reached F1 at just 17 years old, his style was already fully formed. Aggressive, committed, uncompromising. Fast forward to Red Bull, and something remarkable happened. Max didn't adapt to Formula One. Formula One adapted to him. Most drivers want a stable, predictable car. Max wants the opposite. He demands a sharp, aggressive front end, and he's completely comfortable with an unstable rear sliding beneath him. While other drivers run away from oversteer, Max runs straight into it. Former F1 driver Jolyon Palmer said it best. Verstappen is the only driver who can extract full performance from the Red Bull because the car is built around his extreme preferences. And because his inputs are so precise, the car responds in ways it simply won't for others. This isn't speculation. Nearly every teammate he's had, Gasly, Albon, Perez, struggled to make the same car work. Max didn't just drive the Red Bull, he rewrote what that car could do. So what exactly is Max doing that's so different? Let's break it down. First, the car setup. Max runs an extremely aggressive front end. Sharp turn-in, immediate response, and a rear end that's deliberately loose. For most drivers, this would be a nightmare. The car feels like it's trying to spin at every corner entry. But Max uses this instability as a weapon. Here's how. His corner approach is unorthodox. Where most drivers follow traditional V-shaped or sweeping racing lines, Max often chooses tighter, U-shaped trajectories. He stays tight to the apex, rotates the car early using that loose rear end, and fires out with unbelievable traction. It's risky, it's aggressive, and it's fast. Race analysts have openly admitted that younger drivers are now copying Verstappen's corner lines because his style produces lap times that conventional coaching would never teach. But the racing line is only part of the equation. Let's talk about his braking technique. Max is a left foot braker, meaning his left foot controls the brake while his right foot stays on the throttle. This isn't just a preference, it's a tactical advantage. Left foot braking allows him to overlap the pedals. He can still be slightly on the throttle while braking, which does two critical things. First, it keeps the turbo spooled and responsive for immediate power delivery on corner exit. Second, and this is where it gets technical, it allows him to balance the car front to rear mid-corner. Too much understeer? A tiny bit of throttle while braking shifts weight and rotates the car. It's car control at a molecular level. And his braking points, absurdly late. He's consistently braking 5 to 10 meters later than his competitors. Yet somehow, he keeps the car stable, rotates it instantly, and gets back on the power with full confidence. Look at turn 1 at any circuit. While other drivers are already turning in, Max is still hard on the brakes, right on the edge of locking up. Then, in a fraction of a second, he transitions from maximum braking to rotation to full throttle. The margin for error is microscopic. One mistake, and you're in the barriers. But Max doesn't make those mistakes. Imagine you're a rival driver, you've nailed your braking point, you're turning in smoothly, and suddenly that Red Bull dives past you on the inside like physics just took a coffee break. That's the Verstappen experience. And it's not just demoralizing, it's strategic. Because once he's ahead, good luck getting past. His defensive positioning is equally calculated. He doesn't just block. He forces you into the slow line, the line with less grip, the line that costs you time for the next 3 corners. Now here's the part that genuinely confuses people. Despite this hyper-aggressive style, Max is also one of the best tyre managers on the grid. Yes, the same driver who throws the car into corners like he's got a personal vendetta against apexes also knows exactly how to preserve tyre life better than almost anyone. How? Because he understands the science behind it. Slip angles, temperature windows, the exact throttle application needed to keep the tyre in its optimal grip zone without overheating it. Most drivers either drive fast and destroy their tyres, or manage their tyres and drive slower. Max does both simultaneously. He's aggressive where it counts, surgical where it matters. On corner entry, he's pushing to the absolute limit. But on corner exit, his throttle control is so refined that he's extracting maximum traction without wheel spin, which would cook the rear tyres. It's a tightrope walk that requires immense feel and years of muscle memory. And then there's his steering inputs. Watch his onboards closely. The steering wheel isn't smooth and steady. It's constantly dancing, making micro-corrections dozens of times per corner. This isn't nervousness. This is a driver operating right on the limit of grip. When the car starts to slide, he's correcting it before it becomes a problem. When the rear steps out, he's catching it with a tiny steering adjustment and a breath of throttle. It's reflex operating at superhuman speed. Think of it like this. Most drivers are playing chess, careful and calculated. Max is playing speed chess blindfolded, making split-second decisions while the board is on fire and somehow still winning every game. His mechanical sympathy, his understanding of weight transfer, his ability to read grip levels through his fingertips. It all combines into something that looks effortless but is actually the result of tens of thousands of hours of deliberate practice. But it gets even more interesting, because all of this technical wizardry means nothing if you can't adapt it to changing conditions. Here's where Max's greatest weapon reveals itself: adaptability. He reads a race faster than almost anyone on the grid. Changing conditions? He adjusts before others even register the shift. Rain starting to fall. He's already anticipated grip levels 2 corners ahead. Safety car restart. He positions the car in ways that force rivals into defensive lines they didn't choose. His race IQ is terrifyingly high. But let's address the question everyone asks. What happens when the car doesn't suit his style? Most drivers crumble when the setup isn't perfect. Max forces the car to bend to his will. Look at 2022. New regulations threaten to destabilize Red Bull's advantage. The entire grid reset. And Max didn't just adapt. He dominated with one of the most statistically crushing seasons in F1 history. 15 wins. Record-breaking consistency. The lesson? He's not fast because the car suits him. The car suits him because he learns it faster than anyone else. And this is what puts fear into his rivals. Not because he's dangerous, but because he's inevitable. Every overtake is calculated to perfection. Every defensive move is positioned to the millimeter. Every inch of track is used with surgical precision. Sergio Perez, his own teammate, admitted he had to completely overhaul his entire driving approach just to understand what Max was doing. And even then, he couldn't replicate it. That tells you everything about the gap. Max makes the car do things it wasn't designed to do, and the rest of the grid pays the price. Verstappen's influence on Formula One runs deeper than most people realize. His driving style is actively changing how the next generation is being trained. His aggressive rotation technique, now studied in simulators worldwide. His throttle modulation, analyzed frame by frame by aspiring drivers. Engineers are designing car setups with aggressive front-end rotation specifically because Max has proven it's the fastest approach. He's not just winning races, he's rewriting the rulebook. And here's the terrifying part for everyone else on the grid. He's still improving. Every season brings a sharper Max, a calmer Max, a more ruthless Max. His emotional control has evolved massively from his early years. Remember the hot-headed teenager who clashed with everyone? Gone. Now he channels everything into precision. No wasted energy, no wasted movement. Just cold, calculated speed. But this raises the ultimate question. What happens when F1 changes again? The 2026 regulations are coming. New engines, new aerodynamics, a complete reset of the playing field. Will Max's style remain dominant? Will someone finally crack the code? History suggests otherwise. Nearly every regulation change in his career has only made him stronger. The evidence points to one conclusion. Unless the basic physics of racing changes, Max will continue being the benchmark, the template, the nightmare every other driver has to prepare for. So what does all of this mean? It means that every time you watch Max Verstappen drive, you're not just witnessing speed, you're watching a masterclass in controlled chaos. A driver who combines the raw instinct of Senna with the relentless precision of Schumacher. A driver who's turned an undrivable car setup into total domination. Not because he's reckless, but because he understands the machine at a level most drivers will never reach. And if this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really happening on track, then you need to see what comes next. Because Max's driving style is only part of the story. The psychological warfare between him and Lewis Hamilton. The engineering arms race that's reshaping modern F1. The controversies, the politics, and the brutal truth about what it takes to compete at this level. That video breaks down everything the cameras don't show you. Tap it now.